Hi. Before we get into the show, I wanted to take a moment and say thank you. Whether you're a first time listener or you followed us for a while now, we know you have choices and we know it's a big world of social media. So thank you for making us a part of your day. Let's get into the show.
I've heard this saying, and I don't know who started it, but separation is in the preparation. So to separate yourself from those who aren't successful and they don't prepare, they shoot their bow, they open their box and they shoot their bow once a year. They're right before season. I'm on, we're good. You don't want to be putting in for 10 years and finally get that elk tag and not be ready when you have your opportunity.
Today's episode, we're going to talk to Kirt Box of American Country Outdoors. Kirt and I talk about travel hunting and his process for finding tags in many, many states. We talk about stalking and hunting strategies and tactics, how to prepare for grueling out-of-state hunts that are physically demanding. And then we end up talking about camera gear and the challenges of self-filming. Stay tuned. Mr. Kirt Box, thanks for joining the podcast and good to see you. We met each other at the Total Archery Challenge in San Antonio earlier in the year. Decided to start this podcast and reached out, asked if you were interested. Seemed like a cool guy. Got a YouTube channel and interesting backstory, so I definitely wanted to have you on. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of let us know your backstory of history of bow hunting and kind of what you're into.
Yeah, absolutely. Kirt Box with American Country Outdoors. Started bow hunting back in 2016. I did it a little bit as a kid and put it down and did a lot of rifle hunting and then joined the military and moved out on my own and picked up a bow again and haven't touched a rifle ever since. So been hunting everywhere. Any state I can get a tag in, I hunt there.
Interesting, man. That's definitely something that I want to start doing. I had a pretty demanding career and then had kids early, didn't have a lot of time or disposable income. So I'm at a stage in life now where I can actually start doing that a little bit more. I haven't made it as far west past Texas hunting yet, but I have hunted in a few different states in the Midwest. So how does one go about finding places to hunt, and what's the process for, finding tags for mule deer, elk, or, sheep or different types of game?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now I just started this year using Onyx to kind of look at units and draw odds and stuff like that. But before this 2025 season, I honestly would just Google tags and stuff like that and start putting in random units, and I didn't know what I was doing. And there was like kind of a giant learning curve before all this new social media and draw odds and points and all of that. I picked up over-the-counter tags in a couple of states, which a lot of states allow that. And then there's some states like Colorado where I have my bull tag this year. For an extra $100, you could pick up a bear tag. So nice. If we're up in the high country and we're elk hunting and spot a bear, that day the hunt may change and we may be bear hunting instead of elk hunting. So I would say Onyx, though, is the best one. Looking at draw odds, you can select like non-resident. It tells you the highest odds. You can even put in your points. And some units like 6A in Arizona, if you have 9 points, it's a 100% chance to get drawn. So it'll tell you everything, odds, points needed, and stuff like that for every species. And then if you use the Hunting Fool, they're a magazine. I actually met the owner of it while hunting in Arizona one time. They have an email if you sign up for it, that tells you, hey, this deadline's coming up. So you can know every deadline of every state, so you're prepared and make sure you don't miss a draw.
Oh, that's cool, man. I'll link that in the show notes for sure. Because
Yeah.
that's like I told you, people like me, I'm a diehard whitetail hunter, bow hunter. I've hunted Indiana in the rut. I've hunted Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, and of course Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to venture out a little far west and maybe get into mule deer, and definitely want to go on an elk hunt really bad. Like I just
Yeah.
before we got on the podcast, I mentioned to you that my friend is in Colorado now. He sent me a picture last night of a bull he killed, and I have total FOMO, man. So I'm
I
watching,
hear
and
you.
then you're going on an elk hunt too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I leave in 6 days. I'm getting all prepared. I bought a roof rack tent, so that's something new to the arsenal. So that's going to be base camp. We're going to take 2 trucks. My truck will be roof rack with a base camp. The tent will be popped out on it. We'll leave it there pretty much the majority of the hunt and use his truck and drive from there. But we'll do a lot of bike backpacking and spike camps. So we might go up for 3 or 4 days and not come back and take food with us and jet boils and all that. So we're real excited. Last year we planned this huge elaborate trip, like 16 days long, and I killed morning of day 2, and our trip was over. So we
Hey, man, not a
didn't
bad
get to
problem
do
to
it.
have. You at
No.
least got to do some hiking and bird watching.
Yeah, yeah, no, we stayed and actually helped 2 other guys. One we had never met before. We helped him get a bull. He hadn't shot a bull in like a decade, and we called in a bull for him and shot a bull with him, and so it was fun. We still spent a few extra days out there before coming home and coming back to reality.
Oh, so cool, man. I guess after you go on an elk hunt like that, coming back and hunting at your normal lease is kind of it's got to be a little a step down for sure, man.
Yeah, I was living out in Arizona, and I picked up mule deer hunting, and it was a huge learning curve. All that spotting and stalking, and getting to shooting past 20 or 30 yards like you
Mm.
do here in Texas, and then I started shooting real long range, and there was a huge learning curve. And once I connected, I kind of was able to be successful every single year. I ended up shooting like a 193-inch mule deer one year out there, and I you don't get to hunt as much though. The tags are shorter seasons, stuff like that. So I always wanted to come home to Texas and hunt, and we moved home to Texas, and I got on a deer lease, and you get to do a lot more hunting, a lot more species, stuff like that. But now I'm almost regretting it. Like I miss being out west on that public land and stalking and having endless amount of land to hunt on.
Yeah, yeah. So let's. This is obviously a lot of people maybe listening to this podcast, and I'm one of these people too. Like I have the desire to go elk hunting.
Hmm.
You mentioned how to research and maybe find some units where your chances are, and I know you have to apply and gain points and do a draw and all these other things. But aside from that, like what does somebody need to do to get ready to go elk hunting? Because I've listened to podcasts and heard videos of or watched videos of guys that you know train and do all this stuff. And I can imagine that it's pretty physically demanding and you have to go
Yeah,
like way back in the bush to find where these animals are, right?
yeah, definitely. I'm. I'll say I do a lot of training, a lot of hiking. My wife has a treadmill, and I'll put it on 10 incline. Put a 45-pound weight in my pack, and I'll walk on it, stuff like that, to stay in shape. And of course, shooting a lot. And I've heard this saying, and I don't know who started it, but separation is in the preparation.
Mm.
So to separate yourself from those who aren't successful and they don't prepare, they shoot their bow, they open their box and they shoot their bow once a year. They're right before season. Well, I'm on. We're good. You don't want to be putting in for 10 years and finally get that elk tag and not be ready when you have your opportunity. Those mountains, they kicked my butt last year. I'm not gonna lie. So I started ramping it up. Definitely lots of research the area. lots of YouTubing, of course, and then just the experience of being out there. The elevation change for us Texas boys, it hits us a little harder being out there that first day or two. There is a little bit of adjustment, and I thought, I'm a young guy. It's not really going to happen to me, and I got out there and it winded me pretty quick, just being at that elevation change and stuff like that. So maybe getting out there a day early and just taking it easy and glassing and scouting that first day would definitely be a huge benefit, I think. And then definitely going further back, you're going to have less pressured animals. But now I feel like at this day and age, so many people are doing this type of hunting, and it's so popular now that you do run into hunters where you think no hunter will be. My buddy's mom, she shot a 7x7 bull elk in Arizona probably about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now. She's a huge hunter, and she was solo, and she was getting ready to hike back, and out the trailhead, she saw a bull. And it was a giant 7x7, and she shot it on the hiking trail at the trailhead. Nice. And so her hunt was that easy. So sometimes it is luck. There's definitely sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but I still go back to that separation is in the preparation. I want to be able to make my shot when it comes time, and shoot a lot, hike a lot, try to eat right, try not to drink too many beers.
I struggle with that myself, man.
Yeah, definitely. It hurts you when you're out there.
I can imagine. Yeah. No, dude, I never did any sort of physical training for anything. Like I grew up hunting, and the style of hunting that we had was like you'll put in some food plots and then have some box blinds, and you'll go hang out in a box blind, and deer will come out at 100 yards, and you pop him with a rifle. That's just sit and wait.
Yep.
And so as I started picking up bow hunting and hunting different places and actually hunting, not just going and sitting, and plus I started getting older too. I'm 47. And so my metabolism slowed way down, and my recovery's not as easy as it was. And there was a point last year, man, where I actually was hiking in with a loaded pack with camera gear and a whole bunch of stuff. And I had to sit down about halfway through, and I just felt like defeated. I was like, man, and so this whole year I've been trying to, like you said, eat right, lift weights, train, do the ruck training, things like that. Yep. And I can tell the difference. I feel better, but I can also tell, going out and doing some work on the lease for stuff that we, are doing to get ready for season opener. It's made a big difference. I'm not as winded. So hopefully when we get into this year, I don't have that kind of deflating moment of failure physically.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned going out in a box blind and shooting a deer. I got a couple of people on my lease with me. They're family members. A couple of people on my lease with me. The first time I went out there with them before I was on the lease, and I went with them, they would drive right up to the stand and park their truck behind the stand, walk up in the stand and hunt. Well, my first year out there, I parked at the gate. I played the wind. I walked into this stand, and I shot a big 12 point. And they were texting me, giving me hell. They're like, "It's your first year out here. How'd you get a big old 12? We've been hunting out here for years." And I was like, "Well, yeah, deer are gonna come out when you go sit in a stand. People think, oh, it's Texas. You get to bait. You throw corn out. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, yes, you're gonna see deer every sit like that. But if you play the wind right and you still do." Leaving your vehicle further back, like I walk a mile in, stuff like that. Those deer are smarter than you think. You'll end up getting bigger deer that come in that you don't always see on camera and stuff like that. That if you hunt them right, so I still think a lot of that comes into play out here in Texas where we sit feeders.
Oh, it definitely does, man. I can attest to that. I was on a lease last year, and the place was hard to hunt. It was clear cut when we first got on it. So it was a lot of wide open areas. So we couldn't really pattern where the deer were because they were
Mhm.
coming in and out on neighboring properties and, things like that. There was a couple of hardwood flats that were on it. And so we knew deer were there. And so we had like a way in and a way out of that. But as it started growing up in like pine plantation, it got really hard. And then, depending on which way the wind was, there were a couple of these spots where the wind had to be perfect, or you could go and sit, but you wouldn't see anything. And even
Yeah.
like the hogs would come out and they would stop and sit and wait and wait and wait and wait. And there was a couple of times they'd like just turned around and went back, and I think it was because of thermals and maybe wind swirling and stuff like that.
I honestly, I have hogs at my lease, and I'll have them on camera every day, same time for a week straight. I think I play the wind right, and I get in there, and they don't show up, and they show up at a different feeder, and I'm like,
Mhm.
there's no way, and it's happened multiple times. Those hogs are actually smarter and harder to hunt than the deer sometimes, at least at my property.
Yeah, same man. There's a hog that I had pictures of for 4 years, and I actually saw him last year. I got it on film, and I'll put a quick snippet on it on the video podcast of this, and then I'll link it and maybe do like a little social media post. But this thing looked like I don't know, man, a bear with a hog head on it. He had a
Yeah.
tail like this long, and just a big burly nasty looking hog. But I never saw that Joker in real life. And then the one day that he
Yep.
came actually to the feeder, he came in and he was like super skittish, and he got right to the feeder, and then he bolted. So I'm
Yep.
pretty sure that he maybe caught a thermal or a little bit of wind or something, because I was actually hunting pretty close to that feeder. The wind was in my face, but it was like early afternoon, so maybe a thermal got drawn down or something. But they're I've said this for years, man. They're super smart. Their sense of smells probably better than a deer.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to worry, especially if a bunch come in. You don't have to worry about noise as much because they're so loud and they're crunching and breathing and, uh, but definitely movement. They can pick you out pretty easy from what I've learned. And then I had one come in. I was sitting up in a tree, and I had one come in. I was at full draw, and he was maybe 20 yards from me coming in, and then I felt the wind hit the back of my neck, and I was like, oh, I have to shoot now. And before I even was able to put it on him, he turned and ran. Like
Gotcha.
it
Yeah.
was that quick. And I mean, it was a hog, so I wasn't hurting like a big old buck or something, but they've hogs have beat me more than deer have, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. 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 They're definitely something else, man. We had such a problem with hogs on this last lease that I was on that they ended up like pushing the deer out. It got so
Hmm.
bad. Like we tried to do the feed pens and put like the cattle gates around them, or
Yep.
hog panels, whatever you want to call it. And the deer in East Texas, in this particular lease that we were on, like they would go to the edge of it and kind of walk around it, but they wouldn't jump over in it. I don't know
Yeah.
what the deal was with that. And then the hogs were like such a nuisance, man, that they started like rooting under the fences and tearing the panels up. But when we first got
Well,
on this place, like in 2019, we had a fair amount of deer. And when we got off of it last year, I think I saw one deer the whole
hmm.
season last year. But
Yeah.
we had like, man, probably 4 or 5 different sounders of hogs, and the biggest one probably had 25 hogs in it. Just
Oh yeah,
completely,
you need to
completely
get out there
overran
with
it.
a thermal and an AR.
Yeah, no, we tried all that stuff. We hunted them with thermals, and like I mentioned to you, the property ended up growing up so thick in pine plantation that we never
Mhm.
could like figure out where they were, and they made circuits around to like the feeders that we had,
Yeah.
and so we ended up
Yeah, that's
just
kind of what I'm
getting
dealing
off
with.
of the lease. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm dealing with that at my lease right now, and I've definitely noticed over the last 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years, that we have more hogs. And at first, I wanted them. I was like, man, I want hogs. I want something to do in the off season. I want something to
Same.
shoot.
Yeah,
And then they finally came in, and now I don't know. I see probably 30 or 40 on a camera any given night.
Yeah.
and my deer action has gone way down. And I don't know if it's necessarily because the hogs are running them out, or the hogs are like the feeder goes off and the hogs are there. And I think they're just eating all the corn before the deer even have an opportunity to. So I think that's part of
Yeah.
the problem too.
Yeah, it definitely has an effect on them, man, because we're dealing with the same thing on the place that we just got on this year. It's a beautiful place. It's like a pecan plantation, and so it's very well kept, and the grass is, bush hogged and mowed, and like you don't need a four-wheeler or anything to get where you're going. You can drive your truck right up to the places that we have. There's a river that goes around kind of two-thirds of it. And so it kind of goes down, and there's some thick stuff around the river. And so there's a lot of bedding areas and stuff in there. And then there's an ag field on the other third of the border. So they
Yeah,
cut the corn. And so there's nothing there but a giant empty field, plowed up cornfield. And so that perimeter of that river is probably where, most of the animals are bedded. But we have one feeder that's on the southeast end that is inundated with hogs. We were out there 2 weeks ago and filling up feeders, changing camera batteries and doing stuff like that. And we kind of went down near the river where this feeder is, and dude, they have like torn up everything. There's like wallows everywhere, sign everywhere. It's just
yeah,
destroyed. And then luckily they're only really on that feeder. They made their way up one night to one of the other feeders, but the rest of the property has the deer. So hopefully we can kind of keep them in this one area, and then the next time we go out there, hopefully we can catch them right before dark, and then shoot a couple
yeah,
of them or what have you. But the landowner actually, when we got on this place, he was like, "Look, hogs can get real bad here," and we didn't see any hogs. We didn't see any hog sign. And so I was like, oh, okay. Because I just came from a place that was just overrun with hogs. And so I'm like,
yeah,
I don't see any signs. So I was a little skeptical. But he told me, he was like, when they get too bad, we have a guy that we can call that comes out here. He's got a thermal drone, and he'll fly his drone up, figure out where they are, and then he'll sneak up on them on a scooter. He's got like a suppressed rifle. And I
yeah,
was like, that's pretty slick. So
yeah,
we're probably not far from calling the hog sniper to come do some hog control at the place to try to
yeah.
save
That
our deer.
That sounds fun. I've ran dogs on hogs with a couple of buddies a couple of times, and they weren't ever on my places. I was invited to go help out, but he got the call. We were going to someone else's property, and he does that. And then I have another buddy that just got a thermal drone, and he'll use it for that same thing. He'll either locate hogs and do that, but he also uses it to just count the deer and kind of see where the deer are bedding,
Yeah,
so he can avoid those areas. Not necessarily like using it for the aid of hunting them, but
right.
so he can just leave them like that's like the sanctuary. So, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to those thermal drones.
Yeah, yeah. I've been on the fence about buying one. I have a drone for for video and the YouTube stuff and all that other, but it's a little bit older. That's definitely on the list with every other thing camera related that I want to buy.
I hear you there. Yeah, that drone was pretty cool. I saw your total archery challenge video, and you were using the drone to fly down to the target and kind of get some different angles and views of shooting the target. So
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. Another way you can support us is to visit our website at www.americanarcheryandbowhunting.com. On our website, you'll find blog posts, link to our social media and podcast. You'll also find some really cool merch like this American Archery and Bowhunting t-shirt. We also have caps, mugs, and different types of merchandise we'll be adding along the way. So go check us out at www.americanarcheryandbowhunting.com. Let's get back to the show.
that was that was a pretty slick idea to take the drone out there for footage. We just kind of recorded it regular by hand.
Yeah, yeah. I've dabbled in self-filming and hunting for a few years now. I had a different YouTube channel. I used to travel a lot for work.
Yep.
I mean, I traveled nonstop, and so that's kind of slowed a little bit, but the idea, for that was okay. Well, I'll just film some of this stuff, when I'm traveling, and then it'll be an experience to look back on or whatever. But definitely interested in all of that. I did invest in a, pretty nice camera, but I didn't invest in the lenses yet. I've got some lenses that I
Yeah.
hung on to from my first camera, and so I got the adapter and all these other things, and I didn't. I started to buy a Sony A7S III because the guys that I've watched that shoot video with that, it's like crisp, and dude,
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to drop $4,500 on a camera and lenses.
Yeah. I was about
So
to ask you how much that ran, because we're in the market for a new camera now, and
yeah,
yeah, my buddy who we're co-owners of ACO, American Country Outdoors.
mhm.
He's the IT guy. He's the camera guy. I'm more of the hunter. I mean, he hunts.
Personality.
He hunts, but I'm more of the personality and the hunter. And he's like, he'll say that, man. Like, people are like, "Oh, you have other people with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, my camera guy. He hunts too."
Yeah.
Which one is he? I'm like, the only other guy on the channel. But he just, I feel bad. I kind of take a lot of the spotlight. Even this, when you messaged the account, he texted me. He said, "That's you." I was like, "All right." I was like, "I'll give him a
Funny,
call."
man. Yeah. Well, hopefully I can make my way over and meet you guys, we'll go shoot or something. But I
Oh
remember him
yeah,
from Total Archery Challenge, but he was quiet.
yeah. He is. He's a quiet guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's just quiet, and he actually has a tag for elk. And I drew my second choice. He drew his first choice. So we put in for all the same hunts, and they're neighboring units. So we're going to split our Colorado trip. Half of it we're going to hunt for him, and it'll be his first bull, and it's his first elk tag. So he's willing to shoot any legal bull. So we're kind of hunting for him first,
Yeah.
and I'll film him, and then we'll move over to my unit the second half of the hunt and hunt for me. But that's I really, really want to get him something, because there's just so many times that I'm killing so many animals and so many big animals, and I almost feel guilty because he puts all this time in. I mean, we split the meat
Mhm.
since it's like our hunt, even though I'm the shooter, but I still feel guilty that I'm always the one pulling the trigger. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he probably obviously likes filming if he's the
yeah, he
camera
does.
guy and he's into cameras, and I can understand that. I'm the same way. I've even told, the two guys that were with me at Total Archery
Yep.
Challenge are two of my best friends and my hunting partners, and we're on this lease together. And we've hunted, different states also. But I've even told them, like, I'll gladly be the camera guy. I'm at
Yeah.
a stage in life where, I just like going and kind of experiencing all that, and I like the filming part of it too.
Yep.
And so I didn't get a Sony A7S III, but I did get a Lumix S5 II. It was a little bit cheaper, and the footage is great, and you can set it up with a lot of different things. But one thing that I didn't realize was that the lenses are super expensive, man. And
Mm.
so I was able to dodge the cost on the camera body and the initial investment, but the lenses are so expensive, dude.
Yeah,
So
that's
saving my pennies for that.
yeah, that's rough. We're doing the same thing, man. We're trying to figure out what we want to do, because this is actually our second camera, and I would tell you the name, but I'm not the camera guy. I don't even know the name. I know it's like a handheld, and I know how to use it. When he's hunting, I know how to use it, but he's seriously the camera guy 100%. So I can't even tell you the name of it. But we had an old like Sony, and we would be videoing, but every time you would click it on, and this was probably like in 2016, 2017, every time you'd click it on, it would make a noise. And every time I would look at him, I'm like, we got to get rid of that. Like,
Yeah.
and there was no way to turn it off.
Yeah.
So we upgraded, got a nice handheld, and I mean, man, that was back in 2019, 2018, 2019. So it's 5, 6, 7 years old now. So it's about time to upgrade. I mean, to keep up with some of these guys shooting in 4K, you have to have some of the nicer equipment. So
Yeah. Yeah. I shot a podcast episode yesterday with one of my friends and hunting partners, and I forgot to change the setting for the record time limit. And
mm,
dude, we talked for an hour and a half, and luckily I had two other cameras set up, like
mhm.
multi-angle stuff. And then I got home last night and I popped the card in, and it only had 30 minutes, and I was like, oh man. And so immediately I went and like changed the setting. But a lot of those cameras, the one I had before this one, I actually did have a Sony. I had a ZVE10,
Mm,
which was more like a vlogging camera. It wasn't
yeah.
really, I ended up like having an adapter to get like a bigger, longer lens and I could use it for that. Uh, the video quality was great. It was super crisp and everything, but I put it on a camera arm and I was hunting in Indiana last year and I bought like a Bluetooth remote for like the auto zoom. And you could
Yeah.
hear it. It was like, brrr, brrr. So when I went to edit the video, I was like, ah, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually upgraded all our audio equipment for this hunt because unfortunately the last few hunts that we recorded, uh, the audio wasn't the greatest, and the worst
Yeah.
part is we probably recorded 4 or 5 hunts before we started editing,
Mm,
and so we didn't know, and we kept recording, and that Idaho hunt is all on film. The shots on film. It's a great video. We're working on it, but part of the dilemma is like we're gonna have to go do some voiceover and stuff like that just because the audio came out horrible. So we upgraded all our audio for this hunt, and then probably one of our future hunts at the end of the year. We have a couple of things planned. Maybe we'll finally pull the trigger on a camera.
yeah, cool, man. Good. Yeah, there's tons of options. I'm probably going to end up buying a second one. I like this one, but I should have just made the investment and got a Sony because the difference in the picture is
Yeah.
where it's at, man. So, what did you
You,
get some lav mics or wireless mics?
Yeah, yeah. So we woke up early this morning, and we both have 4-year-olds. So we took the 4-year-olds out there, and we were kind of testing the mics with them and stuff like that. But we went out this morning and took them, and we were shooting the bows and getting ready for this elk trip and testing all the audio equipment and brought the camera out there and did all that because we didn't want to be on the mountain testing it. So
Yeah,
we were playing with all that audio this morning, and yeah, it just either clips on the bino harness, which after a few shots it actually popped off. So we decided that can't go there. So we'll either throw it on a hat or
yeah,
if we have our packs on, maybe on our pack somewhere. But they're pretty slick, honestly.
yeah. I've got some too. They're like little Bluetooth. There's one
Yeah,
receiver and then two mics, and it has like the little. It looks like a matchbook kind of. It's got the little
yeah,
windscreen on the top of it, and you can clip it on your hat here, or your shirt. Or it's even got like a little lav mic, like a corded deal where you could run it up and put it
yeah,
like on your collar if you wanted to. But yeah,
yeah. I
those are
saw it in
fantastic.
your mega meat video. So
Oh yeah,
if they don't know what we're talking about, if they go to that video, it's right there on your hat. I
yeah,
noticed it when I was watching it the other day. So yeah, they're nice, man.
yeah, yeah. They're definitely good to have. So that brings me kind of to one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Like, how did you guys make the decision to start your YouTube channel, and then what led you on, kind of the subject matter content
Yep.
that you guys film?
Uh, well, you know, originally we started American Country Outdoors in 2017, and it just started as Instagram, and we just were posting all of our kills on Instagram, stuff like that, and hunting content. And we had made a YouTube, but we didn't really post on it. And then we got some footage of some elk fighting. And we didn't have elk tags. We just got some footage of elk fighting and stuff like that, and we tossed it up on there. And it was real grainy video with a phone from far away, and it's still up there. And then we kind of recorded a few hunts with phones and stuff like that. And then we were coming to Texas one year, and he's like, "Well, I have this camera," and it was that Sony I was telling you about. I was like, "Yeah, we'll bring it. We'll video with it." And we were shooting through the mesh, and so the footage came out pretty bad because we were shooting through mesh, and
Mhm.
the video was through mesh and a pop-up blind. And he wanted to unzip it, and I was like, "No." I was like, "I want to shoot through the mesh because I don't want deer to see me." And so that's kind of been like an ongoing thing between us that he wants to get the footage, I want to get the animal. And then after, I killed a good axis, I killed a good buck, and I finally came to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm I'm a pretty successful hunter. I really want to get the footage out there, and if not for if I never get 1,000 views, it's not really about that. I'm going to be able to show my kid. I'm going to be able to look back in years, and I'm going to have all those memories right there on film. And one of the best feelings is you shoot something and you turn to your buddy just so excited. You're hugging, you're happy, and just getting all of that on film and that experience. I mean, like, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it's about for us now. I mean, would I like to make money from it? Absolutely, because I'm doing what I love,
Mhm.
hunting. Um, so that would be a great benefit, but that's really not the goal. It's just to have the footage out there for years to come and for us to look back on. And if other people enjoy our footage and enjoy our videos, even better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, there's never been, I think, a better time for social media. YouTube's been around since, gosh, the early 2000s, but I don't think, I didn't really start, I guess, watching YouTube or really consuming content until probably 2012, 13, 14. And then
Yep.
it was probably 2015 or 16 before I kind of started shooting a few little videos. And the thing that, looking back on all that now, that's funny, people watch this stuff and they think, oh, I can do that. I
Yep.
thought that. I was like, oh, I can do that. I'll go take this $150 handy cam that I got. And
Yep.
the first time I filmed the thing, I went to a ranch with a dude here in Texas, um, and just filmed like some exotics. And I was thinking, when I got home, I was like, oh, it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be just
Yeah.
like. And then I watched the video, and it's like, this is terrible. This looks like a
Yeah.
home video from like the mid '80s, of my
Yeah.
grandma's birthday party or something. But
Yes, I do know.
oh man, but it for people that think, that this is you could just roll up and produce this stuff, it's not that easy. Now, I will say it's gotten a lot easier with technology now. The
Yeah.
cameras, I still have a traditional camera, mirrorless camera, and it's sophisticated. I've got GoPros, I've got a drone, I've got all kinds of different stuff, but I've started using iPhones, man, and the quality that
I
comes out
know.
of this stuff. You can get anamorphic lenses to put on these things. You can put your lav mic, you can shoot in
Yep.
4K and 24 frames. And so I'm starting to use, the iPhone that I
Yeah.
have for different stuff. And I'm looking to upgrade to hopefully the 17 or the 17 Pro Max when it comes out.
Yep.
So
John upgraded today. He went and upgraded his iPhone today for our hunt. He's like,
there you go.
I need a new iPhone for the hunt, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, because we do get a lot of footage just on our phones, and we'll plug and play it with the other footage.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like you're saying. I remember looking back at some of our older videos, even from 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, man, that's awful. But it's gonna stay up there for us and for anyone else who wants to watch it. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like looking at it like it's like a old home video, and I yeah, I was kind of embarrassed to put it up at first, and then I'm like, I really don't care what people think about it. It is for me at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
hopefully other people enjoy it. But yeah, these iPhones are next level. It is easier today than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've always self filmed too. I've haven't had a hunting trip yet where I've actually had a cameraman.
Mhm.
The guys that I hunt with are one of them's like an older school guy and not as tech savvy, for stuff like that. And then the other guy is he's just not interested in it. So
Yep.
I'm gonna have to grab one of them and train them and swap out, and try to do this. But man, self filming is so difficult. I tried to
Yeah.
do it. Well, I've done it every year for the last, I guess, 6 or 7 years. And I had this giant, I bought a muddy camera arm, and this thing weighs like 25 pounds, man. I still got it. And it looked cool. And it was like, oh, this is going to be great. And you put the head on it. And then I had a giant, like, DSLR camera with a big old long lens on it. Dude, I had like 30 pounds of stuff extra. And then I would have to get up in the tree and strap all this stuff in. And so even that's come a long way now with,
Yeah.
3D printed camera arms that are made out of like carbon material or just plastic. You get one of those and then you put an iPhone with it that weighs nothing you're going to have with you anyway.
Yep.
Then, a lot easier to do. But I'm going to try
Yeah.
to talk one of those guys into being a cameraman for me this year. I'll swap out with him.
Yeah. There's actually a good buddy of mine. He's out there. I think he lives by the by NASA out there in Houston.
Yeah.
He's on YouTube and he records. So if you need a camera guy, he's always like, I just want to go on a hunt and record. I just want to go on a hunt and record. So he's actually out there by you. I can put y'all in touch. And
Please do.
yeah, he has a YouTube channel and he loves it. And he loves recording. He keeps saying he wants to go with me, but I always have John, and then I having two camera guys. It'd be pretty cool, but stalking an animal with one person is already difficult. Stalking it with two people, I, I love the footage, but if I just have a stock and I'm by myself, I know my odds are fairly high.
Right.
With some of my experience, but then adding in another camera guy or adding in another person,
Yeah.
um, so it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, for real, man. Well, that's actually a good segue because part of the reason I wanted to have you on this episode too was to talk about the difference in hunting. You mentioned, living out in Arizona and hunting out west, and just from the places I've hunted in Texas, some of the tactics you can't do because the trees,
Yep.
like there either is no trees or the trees are so like small and crooked that you can't get up in them. Like I'm from, the southeast where I'll
Hmm.
find a pine tree and just hang out of it and then wait and ambush something off a trail or a feed tree or
Yep.
whatever. I've only stalk hunted a couple of times. I killed that ram that's right here. I
Yep.
killed it on a stalk, which was pretty interesting. We ended up having to go up the side of you guys would probably call it a hill. I would call it a mountain because I was out of shape and almost died trying to go up it, not from falling, but from a heart attack because I was out of shape. So we ended up having to like go up and then kind of circle around and try to get in front of them. And they still kind of like skirted a little bit. So we had to chase them. I ended up shooting that thing at like 35 yards. So
Wow.
it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
But for the people that hunt like me, that are interested in getting into stalking, like what are some of the things that you have to prepare for or watch out for when,
Yeah.
like, say you find out where an animal is and you're like, all right, now I'm going to hunt it. Like, what do you do next?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a couple of things. If you're glassing one up, the wind may be one direction where you're at. So I say check the wind often. Every so often, just check the wind. But you can also, if there's trees and bushes around it where your wind might be coming left or right, and you are glassing and you're like, that wind, everything's blowing the opposite direction. So you might be planning your stock and then it end up be downwind from what you actually think it is. If you're on a different hillside or something like that, or thermal's pushing a different direction. So that's definitely one thing. Um, I would say the the biggest advice is just get out there and do it. Even if you don't have a tag, don't have a bow, just practice your stalking. Even if it's off season, just as many repetitions because when I started doing it, my practice was during season, and I mean I blew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stalks and thought, okay, that deer's 1,000 yards away. I can start walking at it. There's no way it's gonna smell me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come up over a hill and it's gone. And the only thing I can think of is that it smelled me. That all that travels far, so I was like, okay, so I got to start playing the wind. And then I would get within like 300 yards, and I was just moving too fast. And then I had to start thinking, okay, there's one deer. I have 6 hours. It's bedded, or even if it's not bedded, I have nothing else to do but kill this one deer. And so I started slowing down. I mean, there's times to be fast, there's times to be aggressive, and you'll learn those. But I really do think it's just repetition. I killed a few javelina on spot and stock. Those are real good practice for people wanting to get out west, get a javelina tag. They're not too expensive in some states. And then, I mean, even in Texas, just practice with stuff under feeder. I killed a javelina last October or 2 Octobers ago. It's on the YouTube channel. And I was sitting in one spot and I heard them. And I was like, okay, I know where they're at. I know what feeder they're at. There's only one thing in that direction. I got out. I stalked into 50 yards and shot it. And the comments were like, that's not stalking. They were under a feeder. And I'm like, I mean, it's still, you're walking at an animal and you still have to play the wind. If it was downwind to me, they would have left. It's
Yeah.
still some form of stalking. It might not have been spot and stalk, but it was still stalking. And so I would just say practice, man. Practice on does. If you're wherever you're at, any state, if you have feeders, practice stalking into the feeder opposed to just sitting up in a blind.
Mhm.
Um, any type of practice you can get, that's the only thing that's gonna help you when it's real world situation and you're out west and trying to stalk a big mule deer or something like that.
Yeah. Mule deer's like high up on my list too, man. I could probably pull off a mule deer hunt a little bit easier than I think I could
Yeah.
pull off an elk hunt. So I'm going to try to like schedule my efforts, my disposable income, my PTO to
Yeah.
cover both next year. But if it came down to it, it'd probably be easier for a mule deer than it would be an elk. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a few over-the-counter states left. They're definitely getting away from it. Um, they put a limit on Arizona over-the-counter tags in the last few years. It used to just be wide open for non-resident, and now they put limits on it, and you have to get online and
Mm-hmm.
get one that way. It's still over-the-counter though, so that's something to look into. I think it's $300 for out-of-state over-the-counter tag, which really isn't bad.
Yeah, it's pretty common now, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something I would try. But it's not always stalking. I've definitely had my fair share of opportunities where I've glassed them and I see where they're going and where I think they're going, and I've gotten to a point and kind of intersected them. That's how I killed my most recent mule deer in Arizona. I mean, I guess you call it stalking. I definitely spotted it, and I just kind of got into position where I thought they were going to cross, and uh, definitely worked out in my favor. I had a 53-yard shot and punched it, and he went down. So there's definitely different ways to do it between stalking, and of course you have the traditional sit in water. You can always go sit water if it's a dry year. So,
Yeah.
but learning the behavior of them and stalking them it's so much fun, man. Even coming up empty-handed, it's so much fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So where can people find you on social media, man?
Yeah, everything is American Country Outdoors for Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We don't really use TikTok, but we have one. And then my personal is Kirt Box, KIRTBOX, and I do a lot of posting of my kills and stuff on there, and a lot of my stories go on there. So I kind of do both Instagrams, and the Instagram is jointly ran. So
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, good luck to you, brother. Thanks again.
yeah, absolutely appreciate it.
You bet. See you soon. Thanks for joining the podcast. And don't forget, if you haven't already, make sure to go follow us on social media. We can be found on YouTube at American Archery and Bow Hunting, as well as Instagram and TikTok. Also, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please don't forget to leave us a rating and drop a comment in the episode. Thanks, and see you next time.